Welcome back to Mouthing Off with Mike, the only wrestling podcast that's not on Ozempic. We know you didn't do it alone. Ozempic. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a sponsored video. That was just for fun. Listen, I know other wrestling podcasts are probably not on Ozempic. I just keep seeing these fucking glutide peptide commercials across my television screen, and I don't know, something inside me just was like, this'll work. Listen, enough about that. We got a lot, and I mean a lot to talk about here in pro wrestling this past week on the WWE side, and we've got a discussion. I'm joined by top-notch Dyson Bennett to talk about what's going on in AEW right now, what needs to change to restore the feeling. But on the WWE side, ladies and gentlemen, murdering is back, and if you believe, he will appear. Let's get into this past week in WWE, starting with the flagship show, Monday Night Massacre. Monday Night Raw, for the first time in 2 months, kicked off with the Monday Night Messiah himself, Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins is back, ladies and gentlemen. I was shocked. Legitimately, this may have been, and I've said this, I think, once or twice before this year in 2024, this might have been the best Raw of the year so far. From hour 1 to hour 3, I was locked in to Monday Night Raw. Seth Rollins kicks off the show. A fantastic reception from the fans in Corpus Christi, Texas. I will say, Texas, you guys brought it tonight. Monday Night Raw this past Monday was good. The crowd was into it. They were obviously on the edge of their seat waiting for the reveal of the Wyatt Six group, which we will see at the end of Monday Night Raw. And you can hear all about it, watch all about it with top-notch Dyson Bennett, who will join me in the second half of the show to chop it up about AEW. We are calling this Sunday. When you listen to this, this is the Mouthing Off with Mike double header. It's back for one weekend only, I should say, for a couple weeks, because Money in the Bank weekend, we got 2 premium live events on the WWE side. So you're going to get a lot of me over the next couple weeks. But I will say, Seth kicking off Raw, Priest comes out. They have a clash of words, and it leads to Priest challenging Seth, the current champion, to challenge Seth for a match at Money in the Bank. It's made official, ladies and gentlemen, for the World Heavyweight Championship in Toronto at Money in the Bank. El Campeon, Damian Priest, will defend that title against Seth Rollins in what I can only hope is going to be a fantastic championship defense for Damian Priest. All rise, ladies and gentlemen, for the champion. We also are going to get the response from Drew McIntyre, who just a week ago was screwed out of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship by none other than CM Punk. He's not on Raw, he's on SmackDown, but I don't know what's left of him. Drew McIntyre quits on Monday Night Raw. Okay, Drew quit. Now, we talk about it in the Howdy Wyatt Six breakdown, myself and Dyson. He goes right through Gorilla. Triple H blows right past him, goes Pierce. Pierce walks the same halls that we will see the Wyatt Six group in turn into a real-life massacre later on. But the rest of Monday Night Raw was really good. We are kicking the Money in the Bank qualifying matches off, and we're doing triple threats, ladies and gentlemen. We're not just doing 1v1s, we're doing triple threats. The first of those triple threats would see Zelina Vega take on Kiana James, take on the Genius of the Sky, Io Sky, and thanks to Liv Morgan and her distracting habits, wearing Dirty Dom's vest, which he was looking for earlier in the show, Io Sky is able to get the win, but that doesn't stop Zelina and Liv from brawling later on Raw, and I'm sure we are headed to some sort of championship match between these two women for that Women's World Heavyweight Championship potential. I'm hoping is Money in the Bank, but time will tell. We've got a few weeks till we get there. My man Dirty Dom, he needs some milk. That man he's going to crack any day, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to fold. He's going to fold much like you fold the laundry after you're done washing it. He's folding. And I feel bad for him, but this is his own doing, man. Mommy is going to... There's going to be a massacre by Mommy. It's much to this... Similar to what we saw with the Wyatt 6 massacre. I could tell Dirty Dom is not going to be good when Rhea Ripley returns, because she is going to be out for blood. The main event of Monday Night Raw was, in fact, the last Money in the Bank qualifying match we'll see on Raw tonight. That's going to see Jey Uso take on Finn Balor, take on WWE Hall of Famer, the master of the 619, Rey Mysterio. And this was a fantastic triple threat to end Monday Night Raw, but I could not help but be watching the clock, because I was like, when are they debuting? Where are they? We've seen the glitches throughout Monday Night Raw. We've seen the hints backstage with the puppets of the Funhouse. We've seen the logo. Everything pointed to maybe the beginning of the show, but they end Monday Night Raw. Jey Uso wins and qualifies for Money in the Bank, or Yeet in the Bank, or the Yeet case. Take whatever Money in the Bank and replace it with Yeet, and that is what Jey Uso is going with for his quest to capture gold, singles gold, for the first time in his WWE career. The Wyatt 6 massacre did in fact happen, and it was a sight to behold. My reaction right after it happened is out there. It is live on social media at MOWM_a podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening on the audio side, if you're watching on YouTube, you better subscribe. Please do me the favor of subscribing, because when we hit 500 subscribers, there's going to be a massive giveaway for the channel. My hard-earned money, I am going to spend it to give away a WWE Championship replica belt. I haven't decided which belt, but I know when I decide, you will be the first to know on my socials at MOWM_podcast. Monday Night Raw, very good. The ending, one that will be remembered for decades to come. Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas, Dexter Loomis, Joe Gacy, Eric Rowan, Nikki Cross. Round of applause. You nailed it. You captivated. You made me feel things, and it filled me with such joy to see Bray Wyatt's legacy live on. As you guys know, I'm a big Bray Wyatt fan. I was quite honestly distraught when he passed away last August. I was sitting at my desk, just like I sit here, and I was working, and I saw a tweet from Triple H, and I was like, no way, dude. And it was true, man. And I cried like anyone would who was captivated by Bray. But Monday Night Raw, it was a beautiful sight to behold. I cannot wait to see what happens with Chad Gable. He's alive and well, apparently. My theory is Chad's going to become a puppet for the Wyatt 6, and I hope that's the direction they go in. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, NXT, say his name, and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. Ladies and gentlemen, say his name, and he appears. Joe Hendry, after 2 weeks of speculation and what's going to happen with the NXT TNA crossover, Joe Hendry has appeared, and he blew the roof off the Performance Center, folks. Holy shit. The last time the camera shook like it did was when Trick captured the NXT Championship. The camera shook. The crowd erupted. Joe Hendry cut a promo to kick off NXT for the NXT #1 Contenders Championship Battle Royal. He was eliminated like lightning. All 24 competitors of this match eliminated him. Included in this match, TNA legend, icon in pro wrestling, Frankie Kazarian. Love me some Kaz, man. He was in this match. He was in the final 4 of this Battle Royal, which I thought was a nice shout to TNA. Javon Evans, the young OG, he's so bouncy. Yes, he is. Won this Battle Royal, and he is incredible. I am a big Javon Evans guy. Absolutely love what he has been doing in NXT right now, so props to the young OG. but it is determined that Ethan Page was never formally eliminated from this battle royal, thanks to Oro Mensah and his attack, sending Ethan through the middle rope. And we're getting Ethan Page versus Javon Evans for what I would assume is the number one contendership for the NXT Championship in the main event. Now, all hell breaks loose in the main event because Shawn Spears gets involved. Here's Trick Willie. And all four men end up down in the center of the ring with one championship in the middle of them all, the NXT Championship. Potential fatal four-way coming at you at NXT Heatwave in 2 weeks. I don't know. Maybe a triple threat, maybe a fatal four-way, or Javon versus Spears and Ethan versus Trick, part 2. I got a funny feeling Ethan Page might walk out as NXT champion this go-round against Trick. Something just points to it. We had Michin and Kalani Jordan have a match for Kalani's NXT North American Women's Championship, which she was able to defend successfully, thanks to, in part, to Jada Parker. Jada Parker and Michin have a little rivalry going on in NXT, and that rivalry is not ending anytime soon, and I'm okay with this. I think Miss Parker and Michin are going to go at it next week on NXT, so can't miss television there. Chase U upset the Good Brothers. Absolutely shocking. And Thea Hale is money, ladies and gentlemen. I think Thea Hale is going to be a big-time star when she hits the main roster. I need that Thea Hale push in the NXT North American title women's picture because I think Thea Hale would be a perfect North American Women's Championship NXT. Once again, Shawn Michaels cooking with hot fire. Look in my eyes, ladies and gentlemen. What do you see? It's CM Punk live and in living color in Chicago, Illinois. CM Punk is going to kick off SmackDown this week, which in turn leads to Paul Heyman begging CM Punk to stay away from the bloodline. And of course, you say their name, they're going to appear. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wrestling Trope 101 with Professor mouthing off with Mike. Here comes Solo Sikoa. Here comes Tama Tonga. Here comes Tangaloa. Here comes the Bloodline 2.0. And Paul Heyman tells CM Punk, please just acknowledge them and please take me with you. Don't get involved. CM Punk is like, I acknowledge that you're a bunch of fake-ass Usos and you're a fake tribal chief, and that does not sit well with the uncrowned tribal chief, Solo Sikoa. He sends the boys in the ring to fight, and the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, makes the save with some black baseball bats. Yeah, maybe a shout-out to the Stinger. Shout-out to Sting. Much love in retirement. Now, this is a great start to SmackDown, folks. Immediately right after SmackDown, after the opening segment with CM Punk, we get right into some Money in the Bank women's ladder match qualifiers, which will see Bianca Belair, the EST of WWE, take on Michin, take on Chelsea Green. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know by now, I'm a big Chelsea Green fan. Always have been, always will be. I came across her in her Impact days as the deranged bride and the hot mess. Oh my God, the entertainment factor that Chelsea Green brings to pro wrestling is unmatched. She is hysterical. You know, I talked about it on the post show with Two Heads, One Table, Isaiah, Sean Lucas, Michael Davis. You know, we talked about how she came out with the Rey Mysterio mask, El Luchadora. She's so funny, man. Chelsea Green steals the win. Bianca hits Michin with a KOD. Chelsea Green tosses her out of the ring, or I should say yeets her out of the ring. 1, 2, 3. Chelsea Green is in Money in the Bank. Let's go. We are one step closer to the agenda of Chelsea Green as Miss Money in the Bank. I can only hope and pray. But Tiffany Stratton is another favorite you got to keep an eye on, and she's got a qualifying match next week as well on SmackDown against Candice LeRae and Jade Cargill. So that's going to be a tough matchup. Michin, Nia Jax, they got beef. Michin, Tiffany Stratton, they got beef. Nia and Tiffany have a somewhat of a partnership right now. Keep an eye on it. It's something very interesting when we look at the women's division landscape shift on SmackDown. Carmelo Hayes takes on Randy Orton and Tama Tonga, and as well as another Money in the Bank qualifying match. Bloodline getting her involved. Distractions lead to Randy getting rolled up by Carmelo Hayes. And Carmelo Hayes is in it. Him in the bank got a pretty nice ring to it. He's in the men's match. He'll join Jey Uso, and he'll also join the winner of Andrade, El Idolo, Grayson Waller, and Kevin Owens. Now, Kevin Owens was attacked before the match by the Bloodline, saved by Randy, but unfortunately the leg was targeted. Waller and Andrade targeted throughout the match. Waller goes for the rolling stunner, is caught by Andrade for, I might get this wrong, for that hammerlock swinging neck breaker. And he gets the 1, 2, 3. Hilarious note here. Chelsea, Mello, Andrade all did not get their entrances on SmackDown. All won their qualifying matches. I even tweeted that I'm going to sue the WWE, like the Christian Cage throwback. I'm going to sue the WWE. I even tweeted WWE robbed me of a Chelsea Green entrance, but Chelsea Green won Money in the Bank, so the lawsuit's on hold for now. SmackDown will conclude, ladies and gentlemen, with Cody and Solo made official earlier in the night. There's a ton of security for the Wyatt Six. They don't appear in person, but their logo appears backstage when Cody is walking to the ring. A few times you'll see their logo on the door. I'll flash it up for you here for the viewers on YouTube. But LA Knight and Logan Paul gets hotter every week. LA Knight went to Logan Paul's home last week. Now LA Knight is ambushed by Logan and gets knocked out. So they also are in a match next week for a Money in the Bank qualifying spot. So Logan Paul, since holding the U.S. Championship, has defended the title, I believe, 2 times. Grayson and Theory have yet to defend their WWE Tag Team Championship, and Truth and The Miz have defended it, I believe, their titles now 3 or 4 times. So very interesting to see what is going on with the tag team division in WWE. Also very interesting to see what's going on with Logan Paul. I obviously know Logan Paul has a lot of reach in pop culture across all platforms, YouTube, social media, right? You know, he's everywhere and anywhere, prime businessman, all of the above. But I would love to see the U.S. title defended at some point. Bring back the rule where if a champion doesn't defend their title for a certain amount of time, they have to give it up, they have to relinquish it, or they're forced to defend it. Because if there's anyone who can make that work from a creative standpoint and intertwine that with current WWE, it's Triple H. He's done it. He's done very well right now. I would like to see better booking for a lot of mid-card talent. Sometimes there's left more to be desired. So there are, negatives, of course, with both companies, and we'll get into some of those, the positives and the negatives with AEW, with Dyson Bennett. Andrade, he looked great. He's the current WWE Speed Champion. Everything is up in the air with Ricochet. We don't know what's going on with him. I'm sure if he decides to stay with WWE, he will be brought back into the fold easily, just like that. If he decides to go to AEW or another promotion, I'm sure he'll thrive. He's extremely talented, and he hasn't even hit his peak yet at all. Wrestling nowadays, guys are wrestling for longer, and they're able to do it at a higher level, so respect to them. And Ricochet hasn't even hit that mark yet in his career where he's slowing down anytime. So I'm all for it. Whatever happens with Ricochet, I will be following him. Sad news to report as of Saturday morning. Kayla Braxton is stepping away from WWE after 8 years. Shout out to Kayla, one of my favorite hosts of The Bump, my favorite interviewer. She's a great on-air talent. Wishing her nothing but success and in this next venture of her career and her life. But I'll miss her backstage. But it'll be different without Kayla and Paul Heyman's interactions for sure. Those were some of the best, man. Kayla, good luck. We love you over here at Mouthing Off with Mike. And ladies and gentlemen, your main event of SmackDown, we've got Solo Sikoa, the self-titled tribal chief, taking on the American Nightmare, the current WWE Undisputed Champion, Cody Rhodes. And this match ends within about 3 minutes due to a DQ thanks to the Bloodlines, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens make the save for Cody, but that's not enough because, much like DJ Khaled says, another one. We got another Samoan in the Bloodline. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. He was signed around WrestleMania weekend. The rumors, the reports, the dirt sheets all aired it out. The Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu, is here on SmackDown, and oh my God, he is a monster. He's a monster. He goes out there and he hits Cody with that Samoan splash through the announce table. He spears Randy Orton through the barricade. He kills KO. And my goodness, what a way to end Friday Night SmackDown. But I have missed a huge critical part of SmackDown that I'm going to have to piggyback into here because that's the main event. But I have to talk about Drew McIntyre murdering CM Punk. I started this video, if you didn't remember, I started this video by saying murder is back in WWE and everyone is getting murdered, including CM Punk in his own home city of Chicago. CM Punk is a bloody mess and he's carried out to the ramp by Drew McIntyre and thrown aside. Drew gets on a knee, swipes the ground, looks at his watch, hits the clobbering time, but doesn't say it. We know what he did. Goes over to Punk's lifeless corpse, takes his bracelet off that says AJ and Larry, AJ Lee, his wife, and Larry, the dog, and leaves. What a SmackDown. What a Monday Night Raw, and what an NXT. I haven't seen a week this action-packed and filled with suspense and cliffhangers in a long time, since maybe on the road to WrestleMania. Even then, nothing hit like this hit. 3 hours of Raw entertained, 2 hours of NXT entertained, 2 hours of SmackDown entertained. Seth Rollins came back, Drew quit, returned 3 days later. Joe Hendry appeared, Frankie Kazarian. We had Jacob Fatu debut, the Wyatt Six group debut, and ladies and gentlemen, that's just this week. We get the follow-up and the fallout from all of that coming up this coming week in WWE. And of course, we have a AEW pay-per-view, Forbidden Door, where I will be joined by good brother. You saw him on Mouthing Off with Mike a month or so ago to showcase some of his most treasured memorabilia with Mike's memorabilia moment. I've got Derek, the Devastator, host of Derek Toy Show on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to him. He'll be joining me for our Forbidden Door predictions. Those will come out in the middle of this coming week of the week of June 24th. Those will probably drop midweek, probably Wednesday, once everything is established match card wise. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into AEW. And I am joined by the man that goes by the name of Top Notch, Dyson Bennett, to answer his question, what's missing in AEW? Back in to Mouthing Off with Mike. This week, I've got a special guest here joining me to talk a little All Elite Wrestling action. You know him as Top Notch Dyson Bennett. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Back in the building. Top Notch back in the building. You already know. I'm ready to break down some AEW.
He's back, ladies and gentlemen. Much like Eric Bischoff's theme song, I'm back and better than ever. Anyway, so look, Dyson and me were chopping it up. We were talking a little AEW. He posed a valid question to me. Now, Dyson, now that we're on the air, everything's on the record, I want you to pose that question for me again, if you don't mind.
Okay. How are you feeling about AEW and the current state that they're in right now?
And ladies and gentlemen, the question is a tough one because I'm in the department right now where I feel that there is a funk in AEW. And I don't know what it's going to take to get out of this little funk. They've been in funks in the past. They've gotten out of them. Something about this right now, it's just something feels off with AEW programming and storylines. The wrestling has been good. I can say the wrestling's been fine. But something is just not clicking. Dyson, what do you think's going on?
As you said, man, it's really hard to tell, or not really hard to tell. It's just a hard thing to really think about because I can't put my finger on it exactly. You know, like as I was telling you before, I've been like a diehard AEW fan since day one. And like, I just slowly found myself like being uninterested in what they were doing. I think you mentioned it. I think it's because they focus so heavily on wrestling that they don't focus as heavily on story building. And with certain people they do, of course. AEW has told some great stories. MJF is one of their best storytellers. But I think to really push talent to the next level, you need stories, not just great matches that Dave Meltzer or somebody, not to throw shade, but that, people can like do a star rating or whatever the case is. That's just my opinion. But I don't know. Aside from the fact that they focus solely on wrestling, I can't really put my finger on it.
Okay. So I went in, I went I came back from WrestleMania and I saw the segment on AEW where they ran the video footage of Jack Perry and CM Punk's fight, and I came on here for
Hmm.
12 minutes. The video's down there. One of my highest viewed videos. Of course, my highest viewed video, long form video, is me bitching and complaining about wrestling, which I fucking hate that is like the most viewed video. So like I've got plenty of other videos where I'm talking positive about AEW, WWE, wrestling. But of course, the one where I'm like, what the fuck is going on in AEW? Why are we showing backstage shoot fight arguments and the chaos that ensues? And then, guess what, Dyson? I ate my words. It worked out in the end. They showed that footage and they got the EVPs over. They got Jack
Hmm.
Perry, the scapegoat, over. They had, an incredible Anarchy in the Arena match that you were at. You
Yeah.
were just at an AEW, your first AEW pay-per-view, Double or Nothing, and you had told me like that was one of the craziest shows you've been to in person, right?
Yeah, and that's the other thing that kind of like, hits me in the heart with AEW is because, like I said, I've been such a fan of theirs from day one, and I had never been to a show or pay-per-view of theirs. And then I get the opportunity to go to Double or Nothing, and I'm like, yo, this is like one of the craziest fucking pay-per-views ever, like just mind blowing. So I'm just like, like clearly they're gonna capitalize on this high that they're on right now and
Right.
just go full force. Like, let's just, guns blazing and do some great business. And then like that following Wednesday was just kind of like flat, and I was like, aside from like the MJF segment, and then like we kind of get hit the interaction with Roosh and all this, that, and the third. And I was just like, I mean, why Roosh right this second when MJF is coming back? Is this like a Undisputed Kingdom sent Roosh, to try and maybe soften MJF up? I'm trying to like piece together my own psychology behind it. Um, and I just found that they didn't really capitalize on that momentum that they had from Double or Nothing, as well as they could have.
No, and it's crazy because, for me, it's been a lot of start and stop. And this was a big problem for me watching WWE in like 16, 17, 18, and 19, where
Hmm.
stories would start, abandon, start, abandon, start, abandon. And we're starting to see that happen in AEW too, where stories will start, abandon. A superstar gets, or I should say superstar, a wrestler gets hurt, storyline gets abandoned, right? MJF went away. Adam Cole's hurt still. The whole Devil storyline, there's no payoff. MJF kicks him in the balls, and that's how we end that. That's how that story ends, at least for the moment, right? That'll probably re-pick up in 6 months' time if Adam Cole's healthy. For me, coming out of Double or Nothing, hype was up, right? You said it. I was up, man. I was like, oh, they're back, right? Because
Yeah.
before Double or Nothing, it was getting into that same thing where I was like, a little funky. And I know there's going to be a segment of people that listen and watch this, and they're going to say, well, Mike, you haven't been really critical of WWE whatsoever these last couple months. You've been very critical of AEW. And the only thing I can tell you to that sentiment is there's been less to complain about in WWE coming out of WrestleMania than there is to complain about AEW. That's why everyone's harping across AEW, because when the narratives shift and people can't shit on WWE as the big top dog in the world, they're going to go to that next company and that second place company. And I say that with all due respect because they are the second biggest American based promotion for wrestling. They're going to come for AEW and they're going to start getting more critical. And it's get to a point where it's been said by numerous podcasters, some bigger than me, some the same level as me, experts, analysis, fellow wrestlers, that Tony Khan needs help booking.
I agree.
Is that the
100%.
Band-Aid to fix it all, though? Is that the Band-Aid that stops the bleeding?
I think if you
Because
have the right person in that seat, yeah. Because I
I and
mean,
I
I think the biggest thing is that he doesn't have somebody who has been in that seat, dare I say, like a Eric Bischoff, or if he had the luxury, like a Paul Heyman. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Some of the all-time bookers. If Dusty Rhodes was still with us, if he had a Dusty by his side, I think that was the good thing about having Cody there. I mean, he's got Dustin there, but I don't think Dustin's really, you know, yearning to be in any kind of a booker position. He's helping train the talent that are there. I know he does work with the girls a lot and stuff. So I don't think he's really, pitching or being pitched for, hey, can you tell me some of your dad's expertise on how he used to book? So I think if he had somebody that had that expertise of being in that seat, not just sitting around someone who was in that seat, it would definitely help a lot more. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that he should get Cornette, but that's just me.
Oh, oh boy. Oh, it got controversial here on Mally Off with Mike. Yeah, I don't frequent the Jim Cornette show. I've seen things, I've seen him say things, I've seen pictures that he's posted of thumbnails and things like that.
Yeah, he can be
I
a
know
controversial individual.
he's a very controversial individual.
But he's
Dare
a
I
great
say
wrestling mind. That's the only reason why I say that, though. He's a
that
phenomenal
that is the
wrestling
only
mind.
reason. If we remove controversy, Cornette, yeah, he's like a walking encyclopedia of wrestling knowledge. Like,
Quite
he is
literally.
the person that they go to fact check shit. Like, it's from that era of wrestling, they go to him to fact check a lot of stuff that you see on Dark Side of the Ring,
Hmm.
and all those documentaries. So, maybe I know there's beef with them. I know Bully Ray, always makes comments, and I am a firm believer that TV ratings do not equate if people are enjoying wrestling. It'll tell you
Hmm.
maybe how many people are watching, but even executives from TV networks have said and gone on the record by saying TV ratings do little to nothing when it comes to TV deal negotiations. They're not looking at, what the Nielsen ratings are. They're not looking at the demo. They're looking about how much ad space you can sell. They're looking to see how
Yeah.
much money that's going to bring in for promotional materials, for synergy across their brand. WWE does it with TKO and the UFC. AEW does it with TBS, TNT, HBO Max, video games.
Hmm.
There's so much different brand synergy. They're looking for a ad revenue dollar placement, and of course viewership has to be looked at to see, who's watching it. But I don't think that's a good indicator of people watching in the year of 2024, because there are other options to stream. Of course, illegally is number one on that option for most people nowadays, because it is too expensive to have cable. And there are other alternative methods that may not get tracked in the grand scheme of things. You have social media. That's a big one. So when you look at it, a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
people
I
discuss,
watch AEW. Sorry to cut you off. I watch AEW
no,
through
shoot.
Hulu Live, and I don't know if that's counted in the Nielsen rating.
Right.
So, like,
So it's an interesting dynamic that we have as fans bred. And I don't really
mhm.
like it. I don't think arguing about ratings is good. I think you guys as fans, I think, sure, look at it, but don't become a mathematician. Like, don't become a statistic, an analyst, and you're a statistician, and you're, crunch the numbers on. They did this in the demo. You're just going to sound like a Chris Jericho gimmick. I think that needs to be left out. A lot of conversation. They hit 500,000 viewers. A lot of things are taking place. A lot of different factors. But something with this week's AEW, it was a good show from a wrestling standpoint. And Tony Khan can book a wrestling match, but when it comes to maybe those stories that we want to see, but then again, right, Dyson, we have to argue. We have to
I
be our
will
own
say
devil's
though,
advocate.
I will
We have to
say
be our own devil's
this.
advocate, though, because they're the
Yeah,
alternative, quote unquote, right?
true. But I mean, I think the core of wrestling is storytelling, and I think this week they did a decent job of that. Um, they had the blow off, if you want to call it that, with Roosh and MJF.
Right.
From their little rivalry thing, and I don't know if you picked it up, but Roosh kind of gave Max a little tap on the head.
I saw that.
Good shit, kid. So I'm assuming that that's kind of like the end of that. But then the thing that I found myself extremely entertained by, I was talking with one of my buddies earlier about it, was the Chris Jericho private party segment. Like
Oh
that
fuck.
was money. Like him using the that doesn't
It's
work
not
for
gonna
me,
work for
brother
me, brother.
line, and Isaiah Cassidy with the Tienda line. I'm like, dude, that's like stuff that we were saying in like high school. You know what I'm saying? Like just
Yeah.
having fun. So I found myself really entertained with that and kind of wanting more when it came to that
Wow.
story.
I,
So,
I made a whole video about the Jericho verse and getting
oh
sucked
yeah, I
into it. And
know.
I'm like, I'm 50-50 on Jericho right now. Like, I get the gimmick and he's eliciting a response out of me, whether it's positive or negative. So it's working.
Yeah,
But I roll my eyes every time I see him and he's like, hey guys, don't
it's kind of
forget to.
cringe. I will say
It's,
it is
but
kind of
that's what he
cringe.
wants.
Exactly. The fact that that's what he's going for, I think, is the part
And
that
he's
we
making
should.
fun of people like me. He's making fun of like the podcasters and the wrestling experts. I am in no way, shape, or form an expert. I'm just a dude who bought a microphone and says shit into a mic. So don't
You're a
ever
fan.
call me a
You're a fan.
podcaster.
You're a
Right.
fan who reports on
Loves
wrestling
this shit.
and
Exactly.
loves
There we
it.
go. I
Exactly.
like it. I like that spin, Dyson. I like that spin. All right, so look, so my man's he's a branch on the learning tree. I maybe I'll consider myself like a sprout, of a leaf. Maybe I'll call myself a leaf because a leaf falls off a tree every once in a while, and a new one grows. So maybe I'm a leaf. But we have a big pay-per-view coming up next Sunday, okay? And
Yeah.
this is one of those big pay-per-views that when it was first unveiled, it was the biggest thing in all of wrestling. Forbidden Door, AEW's working with New Japan, and they're going to have a collaborative pay-per-view, and it's going to be their top stars versus New Japan's top stars. But now, New Japan's top stars are AEW's top stars,
Hmm.
and New Japan has this vacuum, I personally would call it, where they don't have the talent built up just yet. There are a couple names that I really enjoy in New Japan that are starting to make their way to that main event level, but this Forbidden Door pay-per-view, it does not feel like it used to. I don't feel that the Forbidden Door pay-per-view gimmick works anymore. I don't see it. And now with the inclusion of CMLL and Stardom, I expected more of that talent on the pay-per-view. Obviously, we have Mina and we have Stephanie, respectfully, CMLL and Stardom, but we have a handful of New Japan guys. And I think it's because most of the big stars like Will Ospreay and Okada are in AEW now. Do
Hmm.
you feel the same level of hype you felt this for Forbidden Door this year that you felt, say, last year or the year before?
Not at all. And I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I think even last year didn't feel like the first one. I mean, I think the first Forbidden Door was something special because it was like, yeah, we've seen companies work together before, but in this time period where it seemed like it was almost like quote unquote forbidden, for other
Mm-hmm.
companies to really do anything together, for AEW and New Japan especially, which I think for the first couple of years of AEW, they had like a rivalry, a legit rivalry with New Japan, and like New
Mm-hmm.
Japan didn't want their talent on AEW and vice versa. So like I really liked that those two worlds coming together created Forbidden Door. My idea, or I shouldn't say idea, but my theory and thought when the first Forbidden Door happened was that each Forbidden Door that happened after that, if it was going to become a yearly thing, would include a new company, and
Right.
more companies would step through that quote unquote Forbidden Door. Um, they had already did stuff with Impact, so I guess would it really count there? But I think it would have, they didn't end up really doing that. They just kind of left it as like a AEW New Japan thing. Now, like you said, this year they've included CMLL and Stardom, which is cool. But again, like you mentioned, they don't really have much of that talent on the card, and a lot of the pay per view is taken up by AEW talent, whether they came from New Japan or Stardom or CMLL or not. They are now AEW signed talent, so it's not really a forbidden door anymore. They should call it something else if this is how they're going to operate. And I mean, at this point now, calling it forbidden door is kind of useless, because we look at how long they've had a working relationship with New Japan. It's no
It's
longer a
not
forbidden door.
forbidden.
Exactly. They're working with Stardom, CMLL. They had a working relationship with AAA. So, like, if I'm not mistaken, so like
There
they've
was,
been,
yeah.
yeah, there was. So like they were working with all these different companies, and are currently now. So, and then you look at WWE working with Impact, and I know we're talking about AEW right now, but it's like
But it's true.
even over there, there's not really a forbidden door anymore. So to call it that, I think is a little hokey at this point. They should call it like, Worlds Collide or something like that. I know
Something.
WWE, I think, owns a trademark for Worlds
Open
Collide.
door.
Yeah,
Call it
something.
something. Like, it's not forbidden, and that is the main point you made.
Hmm.
The forbidden door is no longer forbidden. It's just an open door. and
Yeah.
and you can see a CMLL wrestler come on AEW outside of this time frame.
Yep.
They've showed up numerous times. Stardom wrestlers, they can show up at any time. So it's like, is that concept even worthwhile doing? Can you rebrand that pay-per-view into something different? I think so. Dyson sounds like he thinks so as well.
I think
It'll
so.
be very interesting to see come June 30th on Long Island, New York. MJF does have a match. Everyone assumed it was going to be Roosh, but it is Hechicero. And Dyson, I'm a Hechicero stan, dude. If I had one of those stan Twitter accounts, it'd be Hechicero based. Now, I promise
You're
you,
gonna
I
have to
don't.
send me some Hechicero stuff, because I
Oh,
saw I saw you marking out for him, and I was like, who's
God.
Hechicero? I didn't get a chance to look him up, so send me some Hechicero.
If it wasn't for him coming over like a few months back and him having beef with like BCC, I think that was like maybe like 6 months ago or something.
Hmm.
I would have never knew about him. Shout out to the Lucha blog on Twitter. They posted when all the CML guys first came, about maybe 6 months ago or so. He posted like a little kind of blurb about all of them, and kind of put some top matches. I'll try to find the tweet and send it to you. And I
Okay.
watched a couple YouTube, some highlights of Hechicero, dude. And just watching him in the ring in AEW, he's a gem, highly underrated talent over in CMLL. Big fan.
I
There's a lot
think
of good
the
matches.
fact that they're putting him up against MJF, I think, says a lot. So that's why I'm, even more interested, because if they're putting him up against MJF, either MJF requested that or Tony thinks it'll be a really great match. So
Or Tony Khan just is out here booking for me, or the sickos, as he likes to
yeah,
say. He's booking
he's
for the
reading your
sickos.
mind.
I mean, listen, I see you, Tony. He put Samoa Joe and Hook together. I tweeted it. Good Brothers booking like a mark, tag Tony Khan. I don't know if
Hmm.
that was the position he was going all the way, but if it wasn't, and I'm the reason, then hopefully it works out good. If it works out well, then I'm the reason. If it doesn't, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Dyson, any last remarks here on AEW before I wrap things up here with the show?
I mean, man, I just hope that they get out of this rut that they're in. It really does suck to see, because some of my favorites are in AEW. So I just hope that the little rut that they are in, attendance wise, viewership wise, storyline wise, I hope that they get, back up and moving again, because I love AEW when they're thriving. I mean, I love AEW even when they're not thriving, you know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, some of my favorites are there. But
Sure.
it sucks to see the wrestling community, crap on AEW so much because of, how they're doing right now. We've all been there. We got on WWE when they were in the same,
Oh,
boat. So, I understand it, but hopefully they get out of this rut sooner rather than later.
I could not agree more. I will say though, kind of closing remarks in regards to this. I've been thinking a lot about it. WWE played this very smart. AEW went out there and they signed as much talent as they possibly could. Even wrestlers released by WWE, wrestlers
Hmm.
across New Japan, CMLL, all promotions, independent alike, and everything in between. And essentially for 2 to 4 years now, most of these talent were basically on air or forgot about or got hurt and left. And basically we're doing tryouts for WWE for free for them because WWE came in and handpicked the talents that they wanted to bring over to NXT. Lexis King, Brian Pillman Jr., Ethan Page. And I'm sure there's going to be more names to follow where WWE's probably going to scoop them up because of the underutilization they've seen in AEW. Ricky Starks, Wardlow are 2 names right off the top of my head. So I'm hoping AEW figures out a way to utilize their talent in a more efficient manner, as well as I think it's time, Tony, to have someone step in. I am a day one, just like Dyson. I was there, Double or Nothing 2019. I'll say it in nauseum. If there's one person that wants them to succeed, and if there's 2 people, it's Dyson and me, because competition in wrestling is good. And the reason WWE is good now is because of AEW. Now I need AEW to realize this and recognize this, Tony. AEW, the talent, you have the talent. There's no qualms about that. You need to recognize now that WWE is outdoing you, and it's time to step it up and use them to better yourself the way they did to you back in the 2021-2022 segment. And also, this really doesn't happen. I don't think WWE's in the state it's in without the removal of a certain McMahon. So a lot of different factors hurt AEW in the long run, injuries included, but it's time to look at it at the current level and say, look, blowing us out of the water, they're must-see TV. What do we need to do to recapture that?
Yeah.
Time to take a hard look in the mirror, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for the show this week. Thanks for Dyson for hopping in here. We just broke down Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six, so make sure you check out that video. It's a great one. Listen on the audio side on Spotify, Apple. Watch it on the video side on YouTube. Same thing here with this. Audio, video, always available. So thank you, Dyson, for joining the show. Make sure you follow him. This is it for Mouthing Off with Mike this week. No final mouth off with Mike, unfortunately. There's a lot just to talk about on the WWE side and AEW alone that doesn't really constitute a mouth off because the whole show is a mouth off. So thank you guys for listening and watching. Make sure you follow Dyson. Thank you, Dyson, for coming on here last minute. I love you.
Yeah, thanks again. Love you too, brother.
Mouthing Off with Mike. Mouthing Off with Mike. Mouthing Off with Mike.